You guys are all in the Final Four. Never made it. All right. Let's get to the Final Four matchups. Let's talk about that now. So when you guys get there, right? So St. John's, you guys know that you have Georgetown, right? And Villanova, you guys have Memphis State. And they have a couple good players over there too, right? So, and talk about, so now you're going to play for the fourth time, right? So let's talk, Ron, Billy, talk about that. So now the fourth time, you're 2-1 against them. What is there? Obviously, is there any difference in your prep? Is there any difference in what you're going to do? Hit that one, Ronnie. Billy. Go ahead. Oh, Ronnie, go ahead, Ronnie. Oh, Billy, go ahead.
Well, no. There's no difference. There's always that fear there that we could lose. When we look at their roster and we went down their roster, particularly if you do it now and you see all the guys, and, the Hall of Fame and the championships and all the years and the assist leaders, they had a terrific team, a very talented team. And they played well together. So it was scary for us, but, we were confident, we had won twice. They had beaten us once on our home court. That was always in the back of our mind. So, again, we were laser focused for that game.
They were putting up big numbers. They were in the 80s, right? And most of the games with Villanova and Georgetown games are 50s, 60s, really. So
yeah,
there was no concern about stopping anybody.
Look at that roster. Look at all the firepower. Look at all the scores, all the athletes, and but we played terrific defense. That was our strength. Their strength was offense. Ours was defense, and we were able to slow them down. And keep the numbers down a little bit. I can't remember what the score of the game was, but I'm sure it wasn't in the 80s.
No, it wasn't. How about you, Ronnie? What was your thoughts on going in and playing them again?
To be honest with you, man, what I remember about the Final Four, obviously it was the first time. I remember what I said in the beginning. I said our mission was the Final Four. And me personally, I think that's where we went wrong. Because of course you want to win a national championship, but I think we set our goal to get there, and we got there. And quite honestly, me personally, I don't know how Bill feels, but when we get to Kentucky, our first time in the Final Four, we get off the plane, and we've got police escorts everywhere.
Yep.
We're like, me personally, I was looking at the bus window like, holy. I was so overwhelmed by what was going on. And then it's in Kentucky, a basketball state, you see what I'm saying? And the people in Kentucky were just so hyped. It was just so much hype and hoopla going around. I remember our hotel, we get to the hotel and they have the starting five. They made dummies of the starting five on top of the hotel. And I'm just like in awe. And it was almost like, honestly, like, oh, we got a game? No, to me personally, I'm serious, that's how I felt. Even though it was Georgetown, it was really just digesting everything that was going on around it, being the first time. I really believe had we been there another time, it would have been different. But for me personally, I was just so like, wow. Like everywhere we went, every time we left the hotel, we go to practice, the police escorts everywhere. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. But facing Georgetown again, we beat them. We beat them once. Yeah, we passed them one time. I think we slipped by them one time, and then the next, two times they handled us very, very well. So our biggest thing was like, and you never look past Georgetown because Georgetown is Georgetown. But when Villanova won, we was like, oh. But Georgetown.
I get it.
That's great.
Yeah, how could you not be?
So Bill Winnington, what was your thoughts about this now? You're matching up with Georgetown again.
With Ronnie, it was amazing to be there with all the hype and everything. It's something none of us had seen before. So it was a little bit of a distraction. And I do remember the game. It was tough. I mean, they're doing like a boxing one. Every whistle, it seemed they were running a new guy out to cover Chris. Fresh legs, every whistle. And I remember the game. We were having trouble getting the ball to Chris.
Yes.
And I think Walt was doing pretty well, and I was doing okay for against Pat. So I remember at halftime say, Coach, we got to change something. That we can't get Chrissy the ball right now. I mean, not get him a shot, get him the ball. Because that's how tough you guys were. I mean, you guys, it was unbelievable. It was like a boxing one, and just Chris couldn't. We're running off screens. We're trying to get him here and there, and we couldn't. And Chris was our offense the whole year. Everything went through Chris, and we were having trouble. And I remember talking to Coach as we're walking into the locker room before at the beginning of halftime, and we're already down. And I said, Coach, we got to change it up a little bit. I said, I'm not saying you need to throw me the ball, but maybe we should get Walt the ball in the low post a little bit so we can get them out of that defense, because we can't get Chris the ball. And he kind of thought about it for a minute, and he's like nodding his head, and he goes, we got to go home. We got to go home with who we came with.
Yeah.
And he said that in his talk at halftime. He said, we got to get Chris the ball. We got to do a better job of setting screens on him. We got to get him open. And we just had a hard time doing it. Credit to Georgetown. I mean, they shut down our offense that night, and it was tough. But to Ronnie's point, it was a distraction. I think we did lose focus a little bit. I'm not going to say that's why we lost, because Ron Stewart was distracted and couldn't play. But
all right, you got thrown under the bus. There we go.
Hey guys, but that's why Coach Thompson kept us 2 hours away from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't remember all that. I mean, hell, we won it in '84, and I don't remember those. I mean, we had police escorts, but it was like.
Yeah, but you guys had to stop and get gas with the police so they could get to the place.
The police escorts that worked with you guys, Horace, took up 2 different states, though. You went from, 2 different counties,
You know what, Horace and Billy, though, I did not know that you guys always stayed away. But
Yes.
playing for Phil Jackson, who did stuff like that, that's actually brilliant. Because if you had to drive out to the Capitol Center all the time, so your home games were that far, he just kept everything like a home game almost.
Yeah.
Your preparation, you're getting on a bus, you're taking a long drive, you're going to the game, you're going back the same way. So that's actually a great tool to use.
Yeah, Coach Thompson was kind of superstitious too. I mean, he tried to keep things in order, and we stayed away. We didn't stay in a hoopla. I got to coach once I started coaching and going to the Final Four, and I started hanging out. I said, "Damn, all this happened at the Final Four." I mean, I'm having a great time. As a coach. I'm saying this was going on while we were playing the Final Four. I'm saying, what the hell did we miss? So Ron, I mean, at least you got a good experience from seeing it. But I mean, me and Bill, it was he kept us away, which was good. We enjoyed it. We stayed focused. Bill, to your point, man, we played a boxing one against Chris, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Chris' first game playing against Georgetown, he didn't score double digits. In his last game against Georgetown, he didn't score double digits because we played that boxing one. But if someone tried to screen the boxer, the one, then the guy just replaced him. So I remember chasing him around, and Coach Riley, our assistant coach, was saying, "David Wingate, you did a great job on Chris, man. Chris went to get a hot dog, and you said, what you want, mustard or ketchup?" Hey, what's key? I mean, and to St. John's, and when y'all beat us in the Capitol, they kind of rubbed us the wrong way. Man, we was excited to play y'all again. I know, and I think it played into the hand of Villanova, because I think we spent a lot of energy trying to shut down St. John's. Not to take nothing away from Villanova, but I think that matchup, we was ready to play it, and we wanted to play it.
So I got to ask Bill Winnington one thing though. Do you agree with Ron that if you could just get by Georgetown, then you got Villanova? You got that?
Who?
You.
What school?
Yeah, exactly.
No,
Cinderella.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, we did. We thought it, and as tough as Eddie was for me to play against and stuff, but we just had Villanova's number that year, and it was it was tough. So it was not that we were looking past Georgetown or looking through Villanova. We just felt very confident that when we played Villanova, we were going to beat them.
Gotcha. So let's talk about now Harold and Harold. So you guys, is this Coach's Mass's his first Final Four?
Yes.
So it's his first one. So it's just like Coach Carnesecca, same first one. What was your experience like? Did you guys see the same dummies up on top of your hotel? I mean, talk about when you guys get into there, Kentucky.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead, Chuck. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, I think we were somewhere in between. He wanted us to enjoy the experience, but he also, I think, did a good job of keeping us focused enough that we didn't lose sight of why we were there. We did go to one of the horse farms out there at one of the afternoons with some of our fans and families. So we had a little bit of that kind of away from everything experience. But when it was time to go and get into, the suite or the hotel room to watch film and to do those kind of things, it was like a regular game day or a regular game weekend. He kept everybody away as best as you possibly could in that environment, because we were in one of the host hotels. So we were kind of pretty close to all the action, so to speak. But so we were a little bit somewhere in between, I think, what maybe the Johnnies experienced and what Horace and Bill experienced.
Well, I understand from Chuck that there was a little something that went on with the room reservations.
Yeah.
You guys want to share that a little bit?
I got that.
I don't remember that.
I was standing right behind Dana Kirk, and as we were both trying to check in at the same time, and he says to the clerk that we need the Memphis State, we need the rooms all the way through Monday, because we're going to kick their butts and we are going to stay and play in a championship game. And that rubbed me the wrong way, and it rubbed Massimino the wrong way. And so we had a little chip on our shoulder, but they were very talented, so that chip could only go, it couldn't go too far. We had to still battle them. And again, we were ready. They were very talented. They were big. They were definitely bigger and longer and more athletic than we were. But they maybe overlooked us a little bit, but they weren't ready for what the Big East had to offer.
All right. So we want to go right into the final game then? What do you think, Chuck?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
So now here we are, and the papers are all saying, the USA Today had Villanova versus a god, and some other papers were saying there'll be a Martian in the White House before Villanova wins this game. Nobody really gave us a chance to win, but they played the Georgetown Villanova game from that year. They played it on ESPN, and we all were in our rooms watching that game, and I think that game went to overtime at the Spectrum, if I'm not mistaken. And so that kind of, put in our head before we went through our pregame rituals, we kind of had that in our brains as we came out on the floor. What was your mindsets, Bill and Horace? All right, here you are. It's the final game. You got us. It's going to be a battle because every Big East game's a battle. But what's your mindset as you guys are ready to take the floor?
Go ahead, Horace.
So, like you were saying, man, I tell people that today, they say, how did y'all lose to Villanova? And I said, hey, listen, man, at the Spectrum, overtime, at the Cap Center, very close game, 3 or 4 possessions at the end. So we knew we was going in for a battle. We definitely knew we had our hands full. Just like Harold said that Billy and Harold knows one of Ed and Patrick been battling for 4 years. We knew, that we was going to be in the battle. And Coach Johnson always, we always give our opponents respect and prepare for him because he's a tremendous preparer. But at the end of the day, we felt and we believed that we was going to win that basketball game.
Yeah, that was everybody was using the word dynasty back then for you guys because you guys were so good for so long. When we come out to start the game, and Prez throws some wild, crazy shot up over his head, and it goes in the basket. I figured we had a pretty good shot at that point because it seemed like everything was going in after that one dropped.
I saw that one, Harold.
Chuck, you saw it every day of practice.
Yeah. Okay. I was under it a lot of times in practice. If that's what you mean. I saw it up close.
And a stat in this game right here, I tell people, Villanova only missed one shot in the second half, and that was a block shot.
Block shot. Yep.
It was
pretty good.
I looked at I hadn't looked at them recently, but I think it was a low rebounding game. I think Villanova, which y'all shot by 80%.
Yeah, like 78.
Just shy of 80.
Yeah.
You guys were around 60 though, right?
Shot close to 60% ourselves.
Yeah.
So,
so it says a lot. I mean, Villanova, it's a great win, but it says almost as much about Georgetown as it does about Villanova. I mean, what it takes to actually win that and get over that, beating that opponent, right?
Mark and Harold was shooting the lights out of it.
When you shoot
and win by 2, so
film of that game over and over again, and it's simple. The first 2 games were competitive and very close, and when we got to this final game, and you guys have to admit this, you had some people play out of their freaking minds.
We had 5 guys in the zone, Billy.
Freaking Dwayne was hitting stuff and dunking. I'm like, oh my God, Harold was throwing shit over his head, and going in. It was great. People played out of their minds, guys. It was great. And we played well. It's just you guys played better at the end. And all the games ended that way. It was like 1 or 2 points. And we had a chance to win. We had taken control of the game. But, for the most part, you guys dictated the tempo, controlled the tempo, the entire game, and people played out of their minds. It was just great. Ed always played well against Patrick. He's always giving Patrick problems around the paint. Ed was doing his thing. Harold was doing his thing. Dwayne was going crazy. Harold came off the bench with nuts. It was just, it was
hard.
I do have to ask you, right? So I think you guys have a lead, and then Nova decides to hold the ball for a period of time, right? And you guys, your pressure, your defense, your traps, you're legendary. It seems like you guys were uncharacteristically not going to approach it that way. Was there a strategy there? Was there like, okay, we're going to beat Nova at their game at that tempo? Or, talk about that a little bit, because I think that played a factor.
Yeah, I think it played. Obviously, just coaching myself, if somebody could dictate style in a game, you could pretty much win it. And I think Villanova dictated style. We always thought that we could chase and wear people down. I think that, in this game, Villanova was so excited and had a lot of energy that we wasn't going to wear them down. We just had to try to strategize and try to get the lead and try to control the game at the end. Typically we wear people down. We just keep coming. But I think they style, whoever dictates style have a tendency to win. And I think Villanova dictated style. Their style won. We couldn't overcome their style in this particular situation.
So do you think, though, that because of what they were doing, that you guys try to change, so you're not going to wear them down, so you tried a different approach? Is that?
Yeah, basically they were holding the ball. They were looking for good shots, and like Mark was knocking down shots. Harold was knocking down shots. So I think we couldn't just come down and just put it up real quick and then be back on defense. So, we have a tendency to pressure the game. If they get up bad shots, we could get out and run. I don't think we got a chance to get out and run as much, because they wasn't they wasn't shooting bad shots. And when they made shots, we couldn't get out and run. So I think we had to kind of play to their style to a certain degree. They forced us to play to their style. So I think you have to hats off for that, because our style was, pressing up, getting long rebounds, creating turnovers. We just didn't do that. They value the basketball real well. They put it in proper hands, and people made shots. And, they went home.
I got to ask you this, because I know from being friends with Chuck, right, and seeing Chuck's interaction with Reggie right before halftime, right, and I know Chuck's response from Coach Massimino was the Italian response, right, which is "let's go nuts." What, if any, did you guys talk about that? Did that have any impact, or did that have any effect on your halftime conversation? How about you, Billy?
No, I don't think it did. I mean, that was pretty typical for us to create, you know, a little controversy, to raise the heat a little bit. It's just what we did. It was just our nature, is what we did. And so that I don't even know that came up at halftime in our locker room. We were focused on, you know, just executing our stuff and trying to, you know, to maybe create some turnovers, you know, create some way to, you know, to take control of the game, because we didn't. It was a possession game. It was a struggle. So yeah, I don't think the halftime thing.
I've got a question for the four of you guys. Was there a point in time, for the Georgetown guys first, and then the Nova guys, was there a point in time where you said, was there like an uh-oh moment for you guys, where where you said, uh-oh, these guys are hanging around a little bit too longer than we'd like them to, you know, this is going to be a battle. And for the Villanova guys, was there a moment where you said, hey, we could do this now, because we're sticking around a little bit, you know,
Momentum,
keeping it close. Was there any of that kind of thought going on?
I mean, like I said before, we thought it was going to be a tough game, because we played tough, but you know, we thought we was going to win. You know, we kind of said, oh yeah, they kind of hit these shots, so okay, we just need to tighten up a little bit. You know, we need to make the shots more tougher for them. Just not let them get easy shots. But they were very, very patient. They wasn't rushing anything. And like I said, they played into their style, and we had to try to play their style to beat them.
So right to the end, Horace, you felt like something would happen. We turned the ball over, or something would happen where you guys would be able to pull it out.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, we always been in those type of situations where, you know, our style was going to eventually show up. You know, whether we wore a team down, whether they
you believed in it.
Situation of turning the ball over. It just, you know, two things changed after 85: the shot clock and the 3-point line. So I think 86 after I graduated. The shot clock came afterwards. But I think if we'd had the shot clock, we might have speeded them up a little bit. But they you got to give them credit. They played their style, and they didn't break script. They stayed the script.
You guys believed in your style. That's good. Billy, you got anything to add?
We thought we could break their script. We thought we could break them in a sense that not necessarily we could speed them up a little bit, maybe take a bad shot here, and we could get off to the races. But I don't think we ever got any easy baskets. We didn't get easy baskets. I don't think we got to the free throw line that easy.
What about you guys, Prez and Gents? Was there a moment during that game where you said, hey, maybe we could do this? You first, Gents.
We had that kind of moment in the regular season, both the first and the second game. We thought, hey, we might just pull this one off. And we learned in the championship game, you got to finish the game with Georgetown, because they're going to just keep after you. They're going to keep coming. They're going to poke the ball. They're going to knock it out. They're going to do everything they need to do to pull this off. So you can't have a let up. You can't have a moment where you're thinking, we have a chance for this. You don't have a chance until the game is over, the horn is blown with Georgetown. You did not have a chance. I don't care who you were. It wasn't over until the horn sounded. So we never thought that throughout the game. And for us, we knew that we had to do something different. What we have done got us close in the regular season, but we had to do something different. The difference was don't let your shots get blocked, because they were so good at it. Don't get your shots blocked to start the fast break, and take good shots. and then have your secret weapon come off the bench and just hit all his shots. So that was our plan, and it worked. So thank God that Harold Jensen came in and did what he did, and the rest of us, and you know, holding the ball closer to halftime. Georgetown makes you exhausted, and I played the entire game. I was tired, so I was so happy that we were holding the ball.
That's right.
You know, they run you around so much, and they don't stop. They're relentless, and
It's
what
incredible.
a program that John Pop. Yeah, it was so beautiful. And I'll say this: I didn't meet Michael Jackson in the Dapper Dan game, and he and I spent a lot of time there. But while we were in the NBA, while he was with Sacramento, I roomed with him, and the amount of time that he spent on the phone with John Thompson and the conversations that I have so much respect for John Thompson and Lou and Boeheim and that whole Big East. I'm just so thrilled that I was part of it. Getting to know Billy Winnington, and he's a funny guy. It's just really was a special time, that whole Big East time, when it just hit that. Just to see him and Massimino and Carnesec and everybody hugging each other, and wow, we just kept rooting for you guys. I can't say it enough. We just wanted you guys to win when it wasn't against us. As long as it wasn't against us, we were rooting for you guys. So
you had a point, Harold?
No, I was just going to say how intimidating it was to play against Georgetown, you know, and Coach Mass would we would practice offensively against eight guys. You know, he would put 8 guys on defense, and obviously it wasn't 8 Georgetown guys, but it was 8 of our own guys, and a lot of them were, you know, walk-ons. So it was still different. You know,
was on the floor.
It was different, but there was still 16 arms out there, and it simulated a little bit of what it was like to play against them, because they were just so athletic, so long, so aggressive, so committed to everything they did. It was incredibly intimidating. And, you know, before that game, our keys up on the board, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but, you know, rebounding, you had to at least compete on the backboard with them. You weren't going to maybe win the rebounding, but you had to compete. We had to stop their fast break, you know, get back on defense, limit turnovers, and get back and stop the transition, because that's where, you know, those guys used to blitz teams 6 points, 8 points, 10 points. And before you know it, they're up 20, and that was the game. And like, we saw that happen, especially watching them during the tournament against teams that didn't know what they were going to be up against. And all of a sudden games became blowouts because they were just so good at that. You guys would create steals, turnovers, block shots, whatever. And all of a sudden, boom, you guys are up, you know, big in a game. And just, you know, we knew that could happen, and did our best, obviously, to prevent and limit that. And they had a couple of spurts, I think, in a game against us where they went up 4 or 6 a couple times, but it never got to 10 or 12 or 14 where it would kind of get out of control. And I think that helped, obviously, with us mentally, just to be able to hang around and stay in the game.
You know, to your point, when you were saying a minute ago, Prez, is, you know, staying in focus right to the last play. Gents, if you didn't get that ball in bounds, that was almost a turnover right at the end of the game when Dwayne fell on the floor and covered the ball.
That was not a job that I coveted that night, actually, inbounding the ball against them.
No.
I mean, looking back at it, I was like, holy cow, that was a nightmare.
But you guys had a strategy. You guys moved it across the baseline to get the ball in bounds and then get it to Gary.
We did. We had to do that a handful of times for sure to try and get it in. Eddie would step out of bounds and I could shoot it to him, and then you know, almost hand it off, you know, to Gary.
We put that in the day before, right, gents? We put
that
in Lexington. We never did that before, Sonny.
No, that was kind of a new thing just to put in to try and help get the ball in bounds. But obviously that still didn't end the challenge, but it helped, you know, at least avoid more turnovers. But yeah, inbounding it at the end of the game was, in my mind, it was purely, you know, just, you got to get the ball inbounds. And if it wasn't to Dwayne in that situation breaking towards me, my instinct was going to be to throw it long and at least put it at half court somewhere. So if they did get anything, it was going to be a long shot, a 40-foot shot, a half court shot. And Dwayne, smart enough to just lay on the ball on the ground and not try and get up with it, obviously.
Yeah. Well, guys, one last question for everybody. Okay. Give us your final thoughts. We'll go around the horn. Give us your final thoughts on that season and getting to the Final Four and what it meant to you personally and what it meant to the conference. Prez, why don't you go first?
Me, it was, I don't know if the rest of the guys realize how tough of a freshman year I had. I had to fight to get back and get my confidence and move forward. So that year got me back on track as to who Harold Presley was as a player, and got my focus to the point where it catapulted me into an NBA run. So it's got me in Sacramento with a family and wife and kids and job and all that kind of stuff. That's what that game did to me. That brought me back the confidence that I lost the time between being in Indianapolis with Horace and Ed and all the rest of the guys, and the time that I stepped foot on Villanova's campus. I made some mistakes between that time, and that took a lot of my focus and a lot of my confidence away and who I really was as a basketball player. So it brought me back to being Harold Presley, in love with basketball and knowing that I could actually perform.
How about you, Ron?
For me personally, honestly, it was a culmination of 4 years of hard work with a great group of guys, and ultimately, guys that still today I consider, obviously my brothers like Bill and Chris, who we keep in touch, and just the Biggies itself, because of how hard it was and how much we had to be together and stick together to actually exist and ultimately, be pretty good in that league. So it's given me a lifelong of memories, good memories, and people that I will be in my life until I'm not here anymore. So it's been a great experience. It was a great experience for me.
How about you, Horace?
It's been great. I mean, the fact that I had the opportunity to coach basketball and share some of the experiences I had as a player for some of my players. They think that they're working hard, and I said, you hadn't met John Thompson. But no, it was beautiful. 4 years. Like, me and Bill, we don't see each other as often or talk to one another that often, but we always have that, a John Thompson story. You remember this, Bill, when John told you this? And it's always that good connection when you talk to somebody who was at Georgetown those 4 years. We always got John Thompson stories. So it was great. Losing to Villanova was painful, during that young period of time. But I run into some Villanova fans now, and I say, you know what? If y'all have beat anybody else, you still would have been happy to have a national championship, but it makes it a little bit better. That put that cherry on the top that you beat Georgetown University. So, I mean, I was pulling for Villanova with, the other day. I love Jay. Like, I love what he's doing at Villanova.
Oh yeah.
I hope people are patient with Patrick, because Villanova has a high major program, but they bring people through mid-major type style where they keep a group of guys there. So I was pulling for them. I was pulling for Syracuse the other day. So, I found myself pulling for those guys, the old Biggies guys. It's always going to be a part of me. I mean, I wasn't happy to lose to Villanova, but one thing that was beautiful about y'all, how y'all celebrated. We won in '84. I don't know about you, Bill. I was like, God damn, is this it? We worked. I mean, Coach Thompson used to drive the hell out of us, but how y'all celebrated, man, was awesome. So I'm glad I got older and wiser and able to embrace the Villanova guys and the St. John guys and the Syracuse guys. Manley Fieldhouse is officially closed.
Yeah, you got. All right, thanks. There's the other dagger. So
There's the other one. And
Jets was the first one, and then that's the other. Oh,
sorry.
we were all rooting for Patrick and the Hoyas too this year, and I've been especially vocal with Pat being a big guy, being a head coach as a center versus all the guards that we have here today. But so it goes right back at you, Horace. Like we root for the Hoyas, we root for the Orange, we root for the Johnnies. I think that's just how it was in the Big East back then, and still is today. Jay, what do you got to say?
Incredible experience. A lot of education, a lot of learnings from just learning how to prepare, learning how to compete. Looking back on it and following the game relatively closely still over the years, I think, having competed against Georgetown, probably one of the best teams ever in college.
Agree.
And I think St. John's, 1A to that team too. Not a whole lot different. Just two of the best teams ever, I think, in college basketball were those two teams, and having to compete against them and having the opportunity to compete against them and being able to come out on top on one special night where it just came together for us was an incredible, powerfully thing for me as a person to feel confident in almost anything and in life. And so you can get so much from athletics, I think, if you're with good people like we all have been, if you're with good coaches and you have mentors, and we're all terrific schools. I mean, it was like a perfect formula. And I couldn't feel more blessed to have just been able to be part of it. And looking back on it, it was an incredible time in the conference too. I mean, I don't know, there's a lot of great players that have come and gone in the Big East, but boy, that was quite a stretch right then with those group of guys on those teams. Holy mackerel. I mean, amazing.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Billy?
I'm just, I just feel very, very lucky and blessed that I got a chance to be a part of that because, not just Georgetown history, but Big East history, and how far that conference had come, and watching it evolve, where, players would go to schools all over the place, but all of a sudden kids started staying home. And the way the game was then, where people would stay for 3 or 4 years and you could watch and see how teams and players developed. And, the whole competitiveness of that in the league, because there were so many professional players, so many great athletes, so many great coaches. It was just, a historic moment, in my mind, and, it has a special place in my heart forever. And, but, also the relationships, I hate to compare going out to play a basketball game like going to war, but you build that sort of same kind of camaraderie when you go into battle in a game, year after year after year, and you build relationships and you have this bond that's never going to go away. That's never going to go away because, you guys did it together, and I can give crazy examples of that, just Horace, for example. I hadn't seen Horace for years and years and called him out of the blue. I'm like, hey, my son's looking for a 5th year, and oh yeah, send him up. And did a great job with him. I can go down a list of guys, Dwayne McClain was one of my closest and best friends. He was, we were rookies together in Indiana. We won a championship together in lacrosse with Leo Routens, with the Syracuse guy. And so, I mean, you build these bonds and these relationships over the years. And, that's the treasure. I mean, that's the beauty of it. I had no idea, when we were going through all that stuff. I went to 3 national championship games, going to one my senior year was just like, yeah, I've been here, done that. It was strictly business, no big deal. And, and I expected to win. And we ran up against a buzzsaw. We ran up against a buzzsaw, and we ran up against a team that at that point in time and in moment played better than we did. Played their style, did what they had to do to win, and again, some of Dwayne is one of my closest friends. For a long time. And I have nothing but respect for all the guys. I was never close to a bunch of the guys up in New York, but watching Mark Jackson for years and Bill Winnington and seeing their success and how good they are, I kind of took a little pride in that, because we all came up kind of through, the same battles, the same sort of thing. So, it's the relationships, the camaraderie, the memories. I just feel lucky and blessed to have been a part of that.
Big Bill, take us home, my Long Island brother. Take us home.
It's very, very much what everyone has said, and what Billy said about being in battle. And Phil Jackson used that analogy a lot, where the relationships you make playing basketball remain a lifetime. And I'm very fortunate. And when I look back at everything that happened to me, being at St. John's with that team, that's the closest team that I've ever been on. We really were all great friends, and the relationships I have on that with those guys is phenomenal. And if you guys look back at your own lives, you'll find that the best teams you were on were the teams that really were close, and you were friends with the whole team. I was on a team in Dallas that was very talented, and we went to the Western Conference Finals against the Lakers. And I believe in my heart we should have won that series, excuse me. But we had guys on the team that didn't see eye to eye all the time, and they weren't really that close. They were friends, but they weren't that close. And I know why we were good at St. John's, because we were close. And Coach Conaseca, God bless him, got him right here in my office every day with the sweater on, just to rub it in a little bit more. But being part of that St. John's team at that time, and again, I got to give a lot of credit to Dave Gavitt, who started the Big East a few years earlier, but he did a phenomenal job. And you guys have all been part of my life because you helped me get where I am today. As I said earlier, it's that part of Big East made me smarter, made me tougher, made me stronger, and made me better every day. And it taught me a lot because we had to go through adversity. And as much as I hate to say it, losing to Georgetown in the semifinals helped me later on in my basketball career to push myself harder and get better. And it was a privilege to be playing in the Big East at that time. And I'm really glad I made the choice to stay home, because, Duke, if I went to Duke, it wouldn't have been the same.
Let me tell you, just as an observer, right, and a semi-participant in this whole deal, when I watched a couple of you guys speak, especially when Ronnie started it, everybody's face is smiling. Everybody has, really warm feelings towards each other, towards the game and the relationships. And you guys have all mentioned it. It's, and people tell me that all the time, and I downplay it, but you know what? It was pretty spectacular. We're all very fortunate. So I thank all you guys. This was fantastic. Thanks for bringing me along.
Guys, we can't. Go ahead, Press.
I'm going to just give you a quick story because Billy started it off. But my mom passed away back in September. And before that, I asked her, Mom, you want to send a message, a video to Patrick Ewing and wish him a good season? And she said, Patrick, put him on. So we did a video, and she's, Patrick, I want you to have the best of luck this year. I'm really rooting for you. And 10 minutes later, we get a video from Patrick back saying, Mrs. Presley, I remember the chicken that you made for me in high school, and thank you so very much. And we're going to have a great year because of you. And it was just so beautiful.
That's cool.
That's perfect.
He says, yeah. So.
And as Coach Mass would say, that's what it's all about, right, guys? So
yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. We had so much fun. It was great spending time with each and every one of you. I really appreciate all you guys giving up your time to come on with Sonny and I and talk about a historic season in the Big East Conference. It was a lot of fun. And, we'll have to have you guys back on again somewhere down the road. But thanks again very, very much for coming on today.
Good to see everybody.
Thank you, guys. Great to see everybody.
Billy, everybody. Good to see you guys.
Good luck at Savannah State.
Yeah,
that's
good
right.
luck. I'll be down to
You've
see
been
you.
listening to the Big East Rewind with Chuck Everson and Sonny Spera. The Big East Rewind is produced and directed by Nick Chico Chorus and Daryl Gurney. You can check us out on YouTube by putting in Big East Rewind in the button there, and you can see us on Spotify and wherever else you get your podcasts from. If you need to contact us, have any comments or anything like that you might want to add to the show, you can email us at bigeastrewind@gmail.com. Thanks again. Had a great night. Take care.